Good day. My name is Rojessa Odronia and I'll present my thesis entitled SUWAG, Mindoro Biodiversity Conservation Facility and Cultural Tourism Center through Environmentally Sensitive Architecture and Integrated Adaptive Design for Wildlife Movement. Islands of Mindoro is the seventh largest island in the country and considered as one of the major tourism hub by the Department of Tourism. It is known for its cultural value preserved in its island. However, as our economy grows, specifically in the tourism aspect, our country tends to neglect our environment. The province of Mindoro is the home of one of the critically endangered species in the country, the tamaraw. Moreover, out of 415 endemic species in the country, 149 or 36% of it are from the province itself. As mentioned, the tamaraw is on the verge of its extinction, with only 480 remaining species as of October 2020. However, there are programs for the protection of tamaraw and other Mindoro endemic species, but it is not enough to spread the awareness about its current status and conservation of its kind. On the other hand, there is abundant culture preserved in the province of Mindoro. They also protect and preserve the cultural heritage in the area and the traditions they hold. There is an indigenous tribe present in the province, the Mangyan tribe. It is classified into 7 tribes which are Iraya, Alangan, Tagyawan, Tubuwid, called Batangan by lowlanders on the west of the island, Buhid, and Hanuno. Despite of being one of the major tourism hub in the country, province of Occidental Mindoro wasn't able to establish a facility that will provide care to the Mindoro biodiversity with its culture and traditions value, and this problem led me to propose this kind of development. This project proposes to create a facility which will cater the protection and preservation of one of our country's endangered species, which is tamaraw, as well as Mindoro's endemic species. Also, I'd like to give honor and respect to the island's culture, which result to creating a joint structure for cultural center presenting the culture and traditions of Mangyan. There are also minor problems need to be discussed. First, what architectural innovations can be applied to boost the project's proposal's identity among other conservation facilities in the country and internationally? How can the design emphasize public awareness in Mindoro's biodiversity and culture without creating a barrier between these two, and also for the users and wildlife? How can the design bring out the Mindoro's culture through its design? What will be the design, which will cater the exposure of the tamaraw as their special feature? Lastly, creating a development which will promote green and more sustainable feature in its design. The significance of the study is mainly for the society, for its users, and for the architecture. The goal of this proposal is to provide a development composed of conservation facility and cultural tourism center promoting the Mindoro's rich biodiversity and cultural value. It also aims to establish a conservation facility and cultural tourism center that will provide proper way of giving knowledge and awareness to the users while highlighting Mindoro's identity through architecture. The RA 7586 or the National Integrated Protected Area System Act of 1992 and the RA 9147 or Wildlife Resources Conservation and Protection Act are the laws providing justification of the need for establishing this kind of facility for the protection of the biological species. In addition, this proposal is also one of the programs in the PDPFP or Provincial Development and Physical Framework Plan of the province. In the research methodology, the research paradigm is a workflow based on J.C. Jones methodology and H. Little summary of design process. It is the formulation of idea, identifying the problem, data gathering, data analysis, synthesis, creative leap, workup solution, evaluation, and to the final output. The research proposal is considered qualitative approach type of research, and the data gathering is classified into first, the primary data which are case studies from local and foreign, the ocular visit before the pandemic, and from the online interviews and surveys, and the secondary data which are from the library, document materials, and from the internet. There are also tools used for this research which are the mobile phone, paper and pen, computer and printer, from the internet service and network, and from the transit before the pandemic. Chapter 3 is about review of related literature and case studies. The related literature topics are divided into 3, which are the conservation facility, cultural tourism center, and the design approach subdivided into 2, which are the sensitive architecture and adaptive design. On the other hand, the case studies are divided into 2, the foreign and local case studies. After synthesizing, the architectural analysis for these are spaces are to be adapted, recreational activities which will provide knowledge for the users, establishing tracks with flow of nature, and deciding with the current climatic conditions. The theoretical framework is also covered in this chapter. The framework will discuss the linking gap between the two theories, sensitive architecture and adaptive design. It is presented that linking these two and connecting it into the problem of the development, it will produce an output of the environmentally sensitive architecture and integrated adaptive design for wildlife movement. In the site selection and analysis in the chapter 4, after after using the Likert scale among the three sites, Site A is the final site. The chosen site is roughly a 19-hectare site located in the Barangay Poblacion, Municipality of Sablayan, Province of Occidental Mindoro. As shown in the diagram, the site is located in the grassy foresty area of the barangay. However, it is in the tourism area in the land use map. It is along the National Road, the Mindoro West Coastal Road, and along the unofficial road connected into the one of the barangay roads. It is near the coastal area and the tourism spot in the area, which will benefit the site with the tourist influx. The site is also located at a sloppy site, which will be good for the allocation of spaces in the development and allocation of tracks and trails. Chapter 5 is about architectural programming. In the spatial organization, the development is divided into 5 spaces, which are the administrative, cultural, environmental conservation, circulation, and utility spaces. Shown in the diagrams are the sample office plan of the facility. It is a typical type of planning for the offices in the development. In the space programming, it is divided into 5 zones, which are the general, cultural, environmental conservation, ecotourism, and ancillary zone with a total area of 5,596 and 31 square meters. It is the conceptual site development of the site. Along its access road is the entrance to the site, connecting to the visitors hall and the admin building. Next to it is the cultural center linking to the conservation facility and to its wildlife rescue center. The connection for the service road of the site is present at the southern part of the site, going to the utility buildings and service parking. The parking is classified into 3, for the small to medium vehicles, for the buses and trucks, and for the admin. On the other side of the parking is the open spaces for the commercial stalls of the facility and for the ambulatories. On the top of it is the villas for the tourists and the ecotourism trails and activities. The environmental systems on Chapter 6 is divided into 5. The structural systems such as isolated footing, bamboo construction, and composite construction, the water system, which are the galvanized welded steel tanks and the water filtration system, the mechanical system, which is the packaged central air conditioning system, in the electrical system, the generator set and photovoltaic system, and for the fire protection system, which is the pre-action commercial sprinkler system. These systems will be applied to the development for better use of the development and efficiency. In the Chapter 7, the design framework, the design philosophy is from the renowned Finnish architect Alvar Aalto. Form must have a content, and the content must be linked with nature, is one of his philosophy as he took inspirations directly from the nature in order to create a unique, creative, innovative, and livable space. The conceptual diagram and framework shows the dissected concept that will be used in the development. In the style guiding principle, the development is inspired from the contemporary tropical architecture with styles to be adopted, such as the bamboo cladding, open spaces, parks and trails, and roof garden. In the sub-concept, the site concept is curvilinear, like how architect Aalto designed his works. Curvilinear let the infrastructure flow with the nature easily and letting it to adapt naturally. In the form concept, there is the Mayan traditional house, which shows functions such as the on-stilts, tropical roofing, natural ventilation, which means more openings, use of indigenous materials, and the flowing with the nature. The time concept is timeless and adaptive, since we want to design a long-lasting facility for the long-lasting care and protection of the biodiversity and culture. Economy concept shows the use of a little expensive innovations that will be benefit in the long run, as it will make the consumption of the facility less than usual. In the Chapter 8, Manner of Financing, the source of funding is from the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, Biodiversity Management Bureau, or DNRBMB, and from the Provincial Government of Occidental Mindoro, with the help of the private organization, Asian Wild Cattle Specialist Group. And the summary of the project development cost includes land acquisition costs, building costs, land development costs, furnishing and equipment costs, contingency costs, and the other expenses, which means the professional fees, with a total of 630,450,459 and 448 pesos. In conducting the research, the finding shows in the environmental side that due to the natural hazards and human disaster, our own biological wealth is being threatened. With every time passing by, more and more biological species are being vulnerable and susceptible to the destruction of their kind. Tamarao, one of our endangered species in the country, is now in the verge of its extinction and needs immediate protection and conservation. In the cultural side, the understanding of the culture of Mindoro, not only their heritage culture but also the traditions of the island, gaining knowledge about their lifestyle, art, people, customs, and traditions. The preservation and promotion of their abundant culture and tradition is the need to raise the awareness locally and internationally. In the design approach, the design sensitivity and adaptive design will have a huge impact to biological habitat, and designing infrastructure and development in green area will disrupt their habitat. However, designing with these considerations of the biological effect of the design will let them flow and live with the building aside, adapting to their nature to lessen the harmful effects and provide protection to them as well. Lastly, for the recommendations, the proponent recommend to study related developments about sensitivity and adaptive building, which will be valuable for future references in terms of designing with less harm to the environment. Also, the proponent recommends to share these materials to public organizations, either public or private, to provide knowledge about conservation and cultural tourism of the province of Occidental Mindoro. In the conclusions, design the conservation facility and cultural tourism center for the province of Occidental Mindoro with sensitivity to its current conditions in culture, site, and society. Also, designing a development adapting to the natural biological condition of the area to lessen the harm to immediate surroundings. Lastly, designing a facility which promote and educate the users about Mindoro's culture and traditions. And that will end my presentation to my thesis entitled SUWAG, Mindoro Biodiversity Conservation Facility and Cultural Tourism Center through Environmentally Sensitive Architecture and Integrated Adaptive Design for Wildlife Movement. Thank you.